Hey guys, tonight you wake up and your face hurts from yesterday's beating. The magistrate's assistant is already at your door. We'll get to why he's bringing worse news and another beating. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like and subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Now dim the lights and settle in, because tonight we're walking through what happens when you break the law in ancient China. Not the dramatic executions you see in movies. The real stuff. The boring, exhausting, painful stuff that happens to regular people who steal a chicken or argue too loudly with their neighbors. You're living in Chang'an during the Tang Dynasty. It's the year 742. Your name doesn't matter because you're about to lose it anyway. You wake up before dawn because that's when everyone wakes up. Your mouth tastes like the millet porridge from last night that went bad because you can't afford salt to preserve anything. The rooster next door starts screaming. Same rooster that's been screaming every morning for 3 years. You've thought about killing it, but that would be theft, and theft means your face gets tattooed. Let's be clear about something. In ancient China, they don't just punish your body. They punish your existence. Your name, your family's reputation, your ability to walk down the street without everyone knowing what you did. The system has 5 official punishments and about 300 unofficial ones that hurt just as much. The official ones are beating with light stick, beating with heavy stick, penal servitude, exile, and death. Those are the ones written down. The ones that aren't written down are worse, because at least with the official ones, you know when they'll stop. You get up and your back still hurts from last week when the ward chief hit you with his stick because your pig got loose. That wasn't even an official punishment. That was just Tuesday. The ward chief can hit you whenever he wants as long as he doesn't break bones. He's careful about bones. Not because he cares about you, but because if you can't work, you can't pay taxes, and if you can't pay taxes, he gets in trouble with his supervisor. Your wife is already awake making breakfast. She doesn't look at you. She hasn't looked at you properly since the incident with the merchant last month. You argued about the price of rice. He said you insulted him. The magistrate believed him because merchants pay more taxes than farmers. So you got 20 blows with the light stick. That's the smallest official punishment. 20 blows. Your wife had to watch, because that's part of it. Public shame. Everyone has to see. The merchant was there too, standing in the crowd, not even watching, just talking to his friend about silk prices while your back split open. The rooster screams again. Every morning, same rooster. Your youngest son comes in crying because he stepped on something sharp. You look at his foot. There's a wood splinter deep in the heel. You'll have to cut it out, but you can't right now because the magistrate's assistant is walking up your path. You recognize his walk. Heavy steps, but not rushed. When they rush, someone's about to die. When they walk slow like this, someone's about to wish they were dead. The assistant's name is Wei. He's been doing this job for 15 years. He doesn't enjoy it, but he doesn't hate it either. It's just work. He stands at your door and doesn't come in because he doesn't need to. You know why he's here. Your neighbor said you moved the boundary stone between your fields. You moved it 3 inches. 3 inches of dirt that won't grow anything anyway because the soil is dead from overfarming. But 3 inches is theft of land, and theft of land is serious. Wei tells you to come to the magistrate's court. Now, you don't get to finish breakfast. You don't get to fix your son's foot. You don't get to tell your wife where you're going, but she already knows. Everyone knows. That's how it works here. Information travels faster than punishment, but punishment always catches up. You follow Wei through the streets. People stop talking when you pass. Not because they care about you, but because they're calculating whether knowing you will get them in trouble. Your cousin passes you, and looks at the ground. You grew up together, shared everything. Now he's looking at the ground because association with criminals is suspicious, and suspicious is dangerous. The magistrate's court is in the center of town. It's the nicest building you'll ever enter and the worst place you'll ever be. The walls are painted with scenes of justice, gods punishing demons, emperors establishing order. You've seen these paintings 40 times because this isn't your first problem with the law. Nobody gets through life here without problems with the law. The laws are designed that way. There are already 12 people waiting for judgment. You know most of them. Chun, who sold watered wine. Lu, who didn't report his son's death fast enough. The woman from the next village, who was caught gathering wood from the wrong forest. Normal people doing normal things that became crimes, because everything can become a crime if someone important enough decides it is. You wait, standing, always standing. Sitting would be disrespectful, and disrespect is another crime. Your legs hurt. Your back hurts. The splinter in your son's foot is probably getting infected right now, but you're standing here waiting to find out how much more you're going to hurt. The magistrate enters. Magistrate Zhao. He's been the magistrate for 3 years. Before him was Magistrate Li, who was better because he was lazier. Zhuo actually reads the law books. He knows all the subclauses. He enjoys the subclauses. Your case is 7th. You watch the first 6. Chun gets 40 blows with the heavy stick for the watered wine. They do it right there in the courtroom. The sound is wet. Chun tries not to scream, but by blow 20, he's screaming. By blow 30, he's not screaming anymore, because he's passed out. They throw water on him to wake him up, because you have to be conscious for punishment. That's part of it. You have to experience it all. Liu gets penal servitude. 3 months of building roads. Doesn't sound that bad until you remember that road builders sleep outside, eat once a day, and wear chains that rub the skin off your ankles. Half of them don't finish their sentences. Not because they're released early, but because they die from infected wounds or exhaustion, or just giving up. The woman who gathered wood gets exile. Exile sounds easy. Just leave. Go somewhere else. Except everywhere else has magistrates too, and they all know you're exiled, which means you can't get legitimate work, which means you'll probably steal to eat, which means you'll get caught, which means you'll get beaten, or worse. Exile is slow execution. The rooster from your neighbor's yard. You can hear it from here. Even in the courthouse, you can hear that rooster. Then it's your turn. You walk forward and kneel. Not because anyone told you to, but because not kneeling would be seen as arrogance, and arrogance would add to your punishment. You've learned this. Everyone learns this. Make yourself small. Make yourself nothing. Maybe they'll hurt you less. Magistrate Zhao reads the accusation. You moved a boundary stone. Your neighbor saw you. Your neighbor is here, standing to the side, not looking at you, because why would he? He's already won. The minute he made the accusation, he won. You could deny it, but denial without evidence is lying to the court, and lying to the court is worse than theft. You stay silent. Silence is safest. Zhao considers. He could give you the light stick, 20 to 50 blows. He could give you the heavy stick, 60 to 100. He could assign penal servitude. He could exile you. He probably won't execute you, because execution is for serious crimes and stealing. 3 inches of dead soil isn't serious enough for death. Probably. He's thinking. You can see him thinking. He's not thinking about justice. He's thinking about paperwork. Every punishment has to be recorded, sent to the provincial capital, reviewed by his superiors. Too lenient, and they'll think he's weak. Too harsh, and they'll think he's losing control of his district. He's calculating the bureaucracy of your pain. 50 blows with a light stick, plus a fine of 3 strings of cash. You don't have 3 strings of cash. Nobody you know has 3 strings of cash. That means you'll have to borrow it, which means debt, which means interest, which means you'll be paying this back for years. The assistant brings the stick. It's bamboo, about as thick as your thumb. They soak it in water to make it heavier. The wet bamboo doesn't break as easily as dry. It can be used longer, more efficiently. You have to remove your shirt and lie on the bench. The bench is stained. Years of blood and sweat and other things have soaked into the wood. It smells like fear. You've smelled this smell before. You'll smell it again. The first blow lands across your shoulders. It's sharp, like being cut, but wider. The second blow lands slightly lower. They're trained to spread the blows out. Concentrated beating in one spot can break bones, and broken bones mean you can't work. The system needs you to work. By blow 10, your skin splits. You can feel the blood running down your sides. Warm at first, then cooling as it drips. By blow 20, you can't feel individual strikes anymore. It's just one continuous burning. By blow 30, you're not thinking about pain. You're thinking about the rooster. That stupid rooster that screams every morning. Blow 40. You've lost count, but Wei hasn't. Wei never loses count. He's professional about it. He announces each 10, 40, like he's counting sacks of grain. Blow 50. It's over. Except it's not over, because now you have to stand up. Standing after a beating is part of the punishment. You have to walk out on your own feet. If you can't walk, they drag you, but dragging is shameful. More shameful than the beating itself. You stand. The room tilts. Your back is wet. The blood is dripping on the clean floor, and you know someone will have to clean that, and they'll hate you for it. Another small shame to add to the collection. Wei gives you a cloth. Not out of kindness. Blood dripping through the streets is unsightly. The magistrate likes things tidy. You hold the cloth against your back, but it soaks through immediately. You walk home. Every step pulls at the wounds. People watch from doorways. Not with sympathy, with relief. Today it was you. Today it wasn't them. Tomorrow might be different, but today they're safe. Your wife is waiting. She doesn't say anything. She boils water and cleans your back with the same expression she uses when gutting fish. Necessary work. Unpleasant, but necessary. Your son still has the splinter in his foot. You forgot about that. Such a small problem now. That night, you can't lie on your back. You can't lie on your stomach either, because the pressure hurts. You sit propped against the wall. The rooster will crow in 4 hours. Same rooster. Every morning. Your neighbor, the one who reported you, sends over a small pot of soup. This is also part of the system. He's not apologizing. He's demonstrating that there's no personal animosity. The accusation was just civic duty. The soup is thin, but it's hot. You drink it because refusing would be interpreted as holding a grudge, and holding a grudge might lead to retaliation, and retaliation would lead to more punishment. Let's talk about the tattoos. If you're a repeat offender, they tattoo your face. Not artistic tattoos, words. Descriptions of your crimes. Thief across your forehead. Fighter on your cheeks. The ink is made from pine soot and toxic metals. It never fades. Even if you serve your time, even if you never commit another crime, your face tells everyone what you did, forever. Your cousin's brother-in-law has tattoos. He stole a bag of rice during a famine. That was 20 years ago. He still can't get work in town. Nobody will marry his daughters. His sons can't take the civil examinations. One bag of rice 20 years ago, and his whole family line is tainted. The tattoo process takes hours. They use needles, hundreds of tiny punctures, each one individually pushed into your skin. The artist, they call him an artist, but he's really just another form of torturer, takes his time, has to get the characters right, can't have sloppy criminal identification. That would be unprofessional. If the tattoos get infected, and they usually do because the needles are never clean, that's your problem. If you're lucky, you'll just have scars. If you're unlucky, you'll lose parts of your face to rot. Either way, everyone will know what you are. But tattoos are for repeat offenders. First-time thieves just get beaten. Unless it's significant theft. Significant is more than 5 strings of cash worth. Then you get the heavy stick. 100 blows. Most people don't stay conscious for 100 blows. They have to keep waking you up. That's the rule. You have to feel it all. The heavy stick is different from the light stick. Thicker, heavier. They don't soak it because dry wood hits harder. The sound is different too. Deeper, more final. It breaks things inside you that don't heal right. People who get the heavy stick walk differently afterward. Carefully, like they're always expecting the next blow. Your back is starting to scab. It pulls when you move. Your wife puts vinegar on it because that's what her mother taught her. It burns, but it keeps the flies away. The flies are bad this year. They lay eggs in wounds. You've seen what happens when maggots get in. Better the vinegar. Tomorrow, you have to go back to the fields. Can't miss more than 1 day of work, or the tax collector adds penalties. The wounds will break open when you bend to plant. The blood will soak through your shirt. Everyone will see. That's part of it too. The visible consequences. Walking reminders of what happens when you break the rules. The rooster crows. Still dark, but the rooster doesn't care about your schedule. Your son's foot is infected. Red lines spreading up from the splinter. You should take him to the herb doctor, but the herb doctor costs money, and you need that money for the fine. 3 strings of cash. You have 14 days to pay. After 14 days, it doubles. After a month, you go to prison until someone pays for you. Prison. Let's be clear about prison in ancient China. It's not rehabilitation. It's storage. They store you until your trial, or until you die, whichever comes first. The cells are bamboo cages, too small to stand, too small to lie down properly. You sit curled up. They feed you once a day. Watery rice. Sometimes there are bugs in it. You eat the bugs because protein is protein. The prison is in the basement of the administrative building. No windows. The only light comes from oil lamps in the corridor. The smell is exactly what you'd expect from dozens of people locked in cages with one bucket between them. The bucket gets emptied once a week. If you're lucky. Prisoners die all the time. Disease, mostly. Sometimes starvation if their families can't send food. Sometimes they just give up. Stop eating. Stop drinking. The guards don't care. Less paperwork if you die before trial. But you're not in prison. Yet. You have 14 days. You go to your cousin, the one who looked at the ground when you passed. He doesn't have 3 strings of cash either, but he knows someone who lends money. The interest is 30% per month. But what choice do you have? The moneylender's name is Fat Chun. He's not actually fat. He used to be, before the famine 6 years ago. Now he's thin like everyone else, but the name stuck. He counts out the cash slowly. Copper coins with square holes in the middle. Heavy. 3 strings means 3,000 coins. The weight of your shame, measured exactly. You pay the fine. The clerk at the administrative office counts every coin. Twice, makes a mark in his ledger, gives you a receipt. The receipt is important. Without it, they might say you never paid. Then you'd have to pay again, or go to prison. Probably both. Your back is healing wrong. The scabs are too thick. When they finally fall off, the scars will be raised. Rope-like. You'll feel them every time you put on a shirt, every time you lie down. Physical memory of that day. Permanent reminder. Your son's foot is getting worse. Your wife cut out the splinter, but the infection had already spread. His whole foot is swollen now, hot to the touch. He cries at night. During the day, he tries to be brave, but at night he cries. The herb doctor wants half a string of cash to treat it. You don't have half a string. You spent everything on the fine, and now you owe Fat Chun 3 strings plus interest. There's always penal servitude. Voluntary penal servitude. You can sign up for road work or wall building or canal digging. They pay you. Not much, but something. Enough to buy medicine, maybe. But penal servitude means leaving your family. Means your wife has to handle the farm alone. Means the crops might fail. Means you might not survive the work anyway. The roads they build during penal servitude go through mountains. They blast through rock with fire and vinegar. You have to carry the rocks away. Each rock weighs more than your son. You carry them all day. Sunrise to sunset. Your hands bleed. Your feet bleed. Everything bleeds eventually. They give you rice and water. Sometimes vegetables if the supervisor is feeling generous. Never meat. Meat is for people who matter. The chains are the worst part. Not because they're heavy, though they are. Because they rub. Constantly. Every step. The skin wears away. Then the flesh underneath. Then it gets infected. Then you either heal around the chain, skin growing into the metal, or you die from blood poisoning. Most people heal around it, become part of it. Even after they remove the chains, the marks never go away. Circular scars around your ankles. Everyone knows what those mean. But you're not doing penal servitude. Not yet. You're trying to make the farm work. Trying to grow enough to feed your family and pay taxes and pay Fat Chun. The soil is dead. You knew it was dead when you moved that boundary stone. 3 inches of dead soil. That's what this is all about. The magistrate's assistant, Wei, stops by to check on you. Not because he cares. Because it's his job to make sure you're not planning revenge against your neighbor. Revenge would disturb the peace. Disturbing the peace is a crime. Everything that makes the magistrate's life harder is a crime. Wei looks at your son's foot, says nothing. He's seen worse. He's seen children lose legs from infections. Seen whole families destroyed because the father couldn't work after a beating. This is just Tuesday for Wei. He leaves without saying goodbye. He never says goodbye. Goodbye implies you might not see each other again, and Wei knows he'll see you again. Everyone comes back to the magistrate's court eventually. The rooster. Every morning. You've started timing your wake-up by it. 3 hours before sunrise. Why does it crow 3 hours before sunrise? What does it know that you don't? Your neighbor, the one who reported you, his pig gets loose, ruins your vegetable garden, eats everything. You could report him. The magistrate would probably fine him. But then he'd report something else about you, and you'd report something about him. And back and forth until one of you is dead or exiled. That's how feuds work here. Slow escalation of legal complaints. The magistrate always wins because both sides pay fines. So you say nothing about the pig. You replant the vegetables. Your back screams when you bend down, but you replant them anyway. Your neighbor sees you doing it. Doesn't apologize. Doesn't offer to help. Just watches from his doorway. You both know what this is. He owes you now. Not officially. The law doesn't recognize this kind of debt. But he owes you, and someday you'll collect. Or you won't. Depends on how desperate you get. Your wife hasn't spoken more than 10 words to you since the beating. Not angry words. Not kind words. Just necessary words. Dinner. Rain coming. Boy's fever worse. She's calculating whether you're still worth staying with. Whether the shame and debt are too much. Whether she'd be better off going back to her father's house. Her father would take her back. Wouldn't take your children, though. That's the trade-off. Let's talk about exile. Real exile, not the romantic wandering poet kind. When you're exiled, you get a specific destination, usually 1,000 li away. That's about 300 miles. You have to walk there. No money for carts or boats. Just walk. They give you a passport that lists your crime. Every town you pass through, you have to show it to the magistrate. They stamp it and send you on. No staying more than one night. No working for food. Just keep walking. If you don't reach your destination in the prescribed time, that's escape. Escape is punishable by death. If you reach your destination but leave without permission, that's also escape. Also death. The place they send you is always worse than where you started. Malarial swamps. Desert borders. Mountain villages where the locals don't speak your language and don't want you there. You stay in exile until you die, or until the emperor declares amnesty. Amnesties happen sometimes. New emperor. Birth of an heir. Victory in war. But even with amnesty, you can't go home. Your property's been sold. Your family's moved on. You're legally dead in your hometown. The amnesty just means you can be legally dead somewhere more comfortable. Your son's foot turns black, starts at the toes, spreads up. The herb doctor says it needs to come off. The foot, not just the toes, says if it doesn't come off, the boy dies. Cutting off the foot costs 2 strings of cash. You don't have 2 strings. You already owe Fat Chun 3 strings plus 30%. You think about stealing. Real stealing this time. Not 3 inches of dirt. Something valuable. But what? Everyone's poor. The rich people have guards. The merchants travel in groups. The temples have nothing worth taking. Even the metal statues are hollow. The punishment for theft depends on what you steal. Steal food? Get beaten. Steal money, get beaten harder. Steal from the government, lose a hand. Steal from a temple, lose your head. They have different punishments for different amounts too. Complex calculations. They measure the value of what you stole in bolts of silk. 1 bolt of silk equals so many strings of cash, equals so many blows with the stick. Your wife's brother comes to visit. He lives in the next province. Heard about your troubles. Offers to lend you money. Interest-free. Family rates. But there's a condition. Your daughter goes to live with him. Be a servant in his house. Not officially a slave, because slavery is illegal, but effectively a slave. She's 8 years old. This is legal. Selling children to pay debts is legal. The contracts are specific. How many years of service? What kind of work? Whether beatings are allowed? Usually they are. The magistrate keeps copies of these contracts, makes them official. The government gets a tax on the sale. Everything is taxed, even selling your children. You haven't decided yet. Your son might die anyway. Foot or no foot. The infection's in his blood now. You can smell it. Sweet rot smell. Like fruit that's been in the sun too long. Your daughter knows what's being discussed. She doesn't cry. Children learn early not to cry here. Crying is weakness, and weakness is dangerous. The rooster crows. You realize you've started hating that rooster more than you hate your neighbor. At least your neighbor had reasons. The rooster just screams, because that's what roosters do. Let's be clear about the death penalty. There are many ways to die legally in ancient China. Strangulation is the most common. Beheading is for serious crimes. Slow slicing is for treason and parricide. They call it linki, death by 1,000 cuts. Except it's not really 1,000, usually around 100. They start with the flesh, small pieces. Keep you alive as long as possible. Family has to watch. That's part of it, the watching. But those are for serious crimes. Most people don't commit serious crimes. Most people just accumulate small crimes until the small crimes become a pattern, and the pattern becomes a problem, and the problem becomes a capital offense. Like water wearing down stone. Slow, inevitable. Your back has healed, but wrong. The muscles don't work right anymore. You can't lift your left arm above your shoulder. Makes farming harder. Everything takes longer. The tax collector doesn't care that everything takes longer. The deadline is the deadline. Miss it, and there's a penalty. Miss the penalty deadline, and there's a bigger penalty. Miss that, and it's prison. Fat Chan sends a man to remind you about the interest. The man doesn't threaten. Doesn't need to. His presence is threat enough. He stands in your doorway and looks at your daughter. Looks at your son with his rotting foot. Looks at your wife. Make sure you see him looking. Then leaves. You decide to sell your daughter. Sign the contract. 8 years of service. She'll be 16 when she's free. Marriageable age if she's not ruined. Your wife doesn't cry. Your daughter doesn't cry. Your son's too sick to understand what's happening. The money is enough for the doctor and to pay Fat Chun. Nothing left over. You're back to zero, but at least you're not negative. The doctor takes your son's foot, uses a saw. You have to hold him down. The doctor doesn't have anything for pain except wine, and your son's too young for wine, so he feels it all. Screams until his voice breaks, and just makes animal sounds. The doctor cauterizes the stump with hot iron. The smell fills the house. Burned meat smell. Your wife vomits. You don't. You've smelled worse. Your daughter leaves with her uncle the next morning. She takes one small bag, her favorite wooden doll, a comb, an extra shirt. She bows to you and your wife, formal bow, like you're strangers. Then she's gone. You'll probably never see her again. Even if she survives the 8 years, she won't come back. Why would she? The rooster crows. You realize it's not your neighbor's rooster. It's yours, has been all along. You forgot you had a rooster. Been so focused on everything else, you forgot about your own animals. That's how it happens. The important things slip away while you're dealing with punishments. Your son survives. Missing a foot but alive. He learns to walk with a crutch you make from bamboo. The other children call him names. Half-boy. Broken thing. He stops going outside. Sits by the window and watches the road. Watches people with 2 feet walk by. Doesn't say much anymore. The tax collector comes. Of course he comes. Death and taxes. Except here death is sometimes preferable, because at least corpses don't owe grain quotas. You're short. You're always short, but this year you're shorter because you couldn't plant as much, because your back doesn't work right, and your son can't help, and your daughter's gone. The tax collector doesn't care about any of that. He writes your name in his book. You have 10 days to make up the difference, or face punishment. The punishments for tax evasion are creative. First offense, beating. Second offense, more beating plus public humiliation. They make you wear a wooden collar called the kang. It's like a portable stockade. A huge wooden board with a hole for your head. You can't feed yourself. Can't lie down. Can't do anything except stand there and be an example. People throw rotten vegetables. Not because they hate you, but because throwing things at criminals is encouraged. Civic participation. You've seen men die in the Kang. Summer heat, no water unless someone gives it to you. Your family can bring food, but they have to feed you like a baby. In public, that's part of the shame. Grown men being spoon-fed by their wives while children laugh. Some men refuse the food, prefer to starve. Pride is expensive here, but some people pay anyway. Third tax offense is penal servitude. Automatic. No trial. Just chains and road work until you've paid off the debt through labor. The calculation is specific. 1 day of labor equals 1/100th of a string of cash. Most tax debts are multiple strings. Do the math. Years of breaking rocks. You think about running, leaving at night, taking your family and just walking away. But where would you go? Every district has magistrates. Every road has checkpoints. Every village has informants. And running makes you a fugitive. Fugitives get their tendons cut when caught. Achilles tendons, sliced. You can still walk afterward, kind of shuffling, dragging your feet. But you can't run anymore, ever. That's the point. So you don't run. You borrow more money. Not from Fat Chun this time. From the temple. Buddhist temples lend money. Lower interest than Fat Chun, but they take your land as collateral. Miss a payment and the temple owns your farm. The monks don't farm it themselves. They rent it back to you. You become a tenant on your own land, paying rent to farm soil your grandfather cleared. The temple loans you enough for taxes. Barely. The monk who handles the money has soft hands. Never worked a field. Never been beaten. He explains the terms slowly, like you're stupid. Maybe you are stupid. Smart people don't end up borrowing from temples. Your wife starts making straw sandals to sell at market. Stays up all night, weaving. Her fingers bleed from the sharp straw. Each pair sells for 3 copper coins. She makes 5 pairs a night. 15 coins. Sounds like something until you remember a string is 1,000 coins. She's killing herself for nothing, but she does it anyway, because doing nothing is worse. Let's talk about the worst punishment. The one nobody mentions. 9 familial exterminations. Reserved for treason and the worst kinds of murder. They don't just kill you. They kill everyone related to you. Parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, siblings, uncles, aunts, cousins, in-laws. Everyone who shares your blood or your name. 3 generations up, 3 down, 3 sideways. The logistics are impressive. They have to research your family tree, track down distant relatives. Sometimes people you've never met. Third cousin twice removed, who lives 5 provinces away, dead. Your sister's husband's brother, dead. The baby your niece just had, dead. They do it all on the same day if possible. Coordinated, efficient. You know this because it happened in your district once. When you were young, a scholar wrote something critical about the emperor. Not even that critical. Just suggested maybe taxes were too high. They killed 43 people. The execution ground ran out of space. Had to use the market square. Blood everywhere. The smell lasted weeks. The children were strangled. That was considered merciful. The adults were beheaded. The main criminal, the scholar, he got the slow slicing. Took 6 hours. His mother had to watch the whole thing before they killed her. She didn't cry. People said later, she smiled at the end, but that might have been madness. After the executions, they burned all the family's books, destroyed their ancestral tablets, salted their fields so nothing would grow, erased them from history, like they never existed. Except everyone remembers. You remember. That's the real punishment, the memory, the knowledge that this is possible. that the state can unmake your entire existence if it wants to. But that's for traitors. You're not a traitor. You're just poor and getting poorer. Your back hurts constantly now. Sharp pain when you breathe too deep. The bones didn't heal right after the beating. Probably never will. You're 28 years old and you walk like an old man. The rooster crows. You sold it yesterday. Needed the money. But you still hear it. Phantom crowing. Your mind filling in the silence where the rooster should be. You lie awake waiting for it, and when it doesn't come, you can't sleep because the absence is louder than the sound ever was. Your neighbor, the one who started all this, his crops fail. Drought. His fields turn to dust. He comes to you for help. Stands in your doorway the same way you stood in his. You could refuse. You should refuse. But you give him a small bag of grain anyway. Not because you forgive him. Because now he owes you twice. Once for not reporting his pig. Once for the grain. Debts like these are better than money sometimes. Your son is learning to write. The local scholar teaches poor children for free. Charity work. Good for his karma. Your son is smart. Memorizes the characters quickly. Maybe he'll pass the civil examinations someday. Become an official. Get your family out of this. Except the examinations cost money to take. Travel to the capital. Lodging. Bribes for the proctors. And cripples usually aren't allowed to serve. But maybe. Your wife is pregnant. You don't know how. You barely touch each other anymore. But she's pregnant, and that's another mouth to feed or another child to sell. Depends on how the harvest goes. The harvest never goes well anymore. The soil's been dead for years. Everyone knows it, but everyone keeps farming, because what else is there? Wei, the magistrate's assistant, gets promoted. New position in the provincial capital. Before he leaves, he stops by your house, gives you advice. Stop moving boundary stones. Stop arguing with merchants. Stop being noticed. The new assistant is younger, eager, looking to make a name for himself. Eager is dangerous. The new assistant's name is Joe. He visits everyone in the district, learning faces, learning problems, learning who's likely to cause trouble. He spends a long time looking at your son's missing foot, asks how it happened. You tell him. Infection, doctor, amputation. He writes it all down. Everything gets written down now. Let's be clear about corruption. Everyone talks about corrupt officials, but corruption is the system working as designed. The magistrate's salary isn't enough to live on. He's expected to take bribes, regulated bribes. There are actually guidelines. How much for a favorable judgment? How much for expedited paperwork? How much to look the other way? Too much, and you're greedy. Too little, and you're suspicious. You don't have money for bribes, so you get the full weight of the law every time. The merchants have bribe money, so they get warnings instead of beatings. The landlords have serious bribe money, so they get apologies for the inconvenience of being accused. The really rich people have so much bribe money, they don't even get accused in the first place. But petty officials like Joe, they're dangerous because they haven't figured out the bribe system yet. They actually try to enforce the law. All of it. Every subcategory, an amendment. Did you know it's illegal to cry too loudly at funerals? Disturbs the peace. Did you know it's illegal to wear the wrong color on certain holidays? Disrespect to the emperor. Joe knows. Joe enforces. Your wife gives birth. Another boy. Small, weak. Probably won't survive the winter, but you name him anyway. Have to. Unnamed babies become hungry ghosts. The name you give him means enough, not prosperity or strength or any of the usual hopeful names. Just enough. The midwife thinks you're joking. You're not. The baby cries all night. Not healthy crying. Thin, reedy crying. Like a sick cat. Your wife's milk isn't coming in properly. Malnutrition. She needs meat, eggs, things with fat and protein. You have millet and sometimes vegetables. The baby's getting weaker. There's wet nurses in town, but they cost money. Everything costs money. Breathing costs money. The air tax isn't real, but it might as well be. Every breath you take is one more moment you're not earning copper coins. Your son writes a poem, shows it to you. It's about a bird with one wing trying to fly. Obviously about him. The metaphor isn't subtle. But the characters are well formed, and the rhythm is good. The scholar says your son has talent. Talent is worthless without money, but it's still nice to hear. Joe, the new assistant, arrests your neighbor, not the one who reported you. Different neighbor. The quiet one who keeps to himself. Turns out he's been printing seditious pamphlets, anti-government stuff. Nobody knew. Nobody suspected. He seemed so normal. The trial is quick. Guilty, obviously guilty. They found the printing box in his house. The punishment is death by strangulation. But first, they have to find everyone who read the pamphlets. That takes weeks. Interrogations. Threats. People naming names to avoid suspicion. Your name comes up. Someone saw you talking to him once. About weather. But talking is enough. You're arrested. Not for sedition. For failing to report suspicious behavior. You didn't know about the pamphlets, but you should have known. That's the crime. Not knowing things you couldn't possibly know. The magistrate is actually sympathetic. Gives you the minimum sentence. 20 blows with the light stick. You've had worse. Except this time it's different. Joe administers the beating. He's enthusiastic. Wants to impress his superiors. The blows land harder, closer together. I blow 15, something breaks. You hear it, feel it. Rib probably, maybe 2. The last 5 blows hit the broken ribs. You pass out. They wake you up. Have to finish. Rules are rules. You can't walk home. Your wife has to borrow a cart. Every bump on the road is agony. Breathing is agony. Existing is agony. The broken ribs move when you breathe, grinding against each other. The herb doctor says they'll heal wrong if you don't wrap them, but wrapping costs money, and you don't have money, and even if you did have money, you'd need it for food, because you can't work with broken ribs. So they heal wrong. Everything heals wrong here. Bodies, families. Whole villages healing wrong from generations of beatings. The baby dies. You knew it would. Your wife knew. But knowing doesn't make it easier. You bury him in the corner of the field. No ceremony. Ceremonies cost money. The priest would want payment. The funeral musicians would want payment. Even the gravedigger would want payment. So you dig the hole yourself. Broken ribs screaming, 3 feet deep, deep enough that animals won't dig him up. Probably. Your wife doesn't cry. Hasn't cried since you sold your daughter. Maybe she's out of tears. Maybe tears are another thing you can't afford anymore. Winter comes early. Your house has holes in the roof. Can't fix them. Can't climb with broken ribs and a ruined back. Rain comes through. Then snow. You move the sleeping mats around the leaks. But there are too many leaks and not enough dry floor. Everything is damp. Everything smells like mold. Your son gets sick. Coughing. Fever. Could be anything. Could be nothing. Could be the thing that finally kills him. You don't have money for medicine. You already owe the temple. Already owe Fat Chun, who you weren't supposed to owe anymore, but borrowed from again, because the baby needed milk that he never got to drink. The coughing gets worse. Wet coughing. Productive coughing. He's coughing up things that shouldn't be in lungs. Yellow, green, sometimes pink with blood. The scholar won't let him come to lessons anymore, afraid of contagion. Your son's education ends with a poem about a one-winged bird. Let's talk about prison again. The actual experience of it. You wake up in a cage. Bamboo bars close enough together that you can't squeeze through, but far enough apart that the cold gets in. The floor is dirt, but it's not dry dirt. It's wet from decades of human waste. It never dries, never gets clean, just accumulates. The man in the cage next to you has been there 6 months, waiting for trial. His crime was suggesting the local bridge needed repairs. That was interpreted as criticism of the magistrate who approved the bridge. Criticism of officials is illegal. He'll probably get flogged and released, but the trial keeps getting delayed. Paperwork problems. Always paperwork problems. He tells you about the hierarchies. Even in prison, there are hierarchies. The murderers run things. Below them, the thieves. Below them, the debtors. Below everyone, the political prisoners. They get the worst spots, next to the waste bucket, last to eat, first to die when disease spreads. Disease spreads constantly. Jail fever, flux, things that turn your insides to water. The guards don't care. If you die, that's less work for them. They burn the bodies once a week. Mass cremation, no identification. Your family might never know what happened to you. Just gone one day and never came back. But you're not in prison. Not yet. You're home watching your son die slowly. Each breath is shallower. Each cough is weaker. He stops eating, stops talking, just lies there looking at the ceiling. The same ceiling his sister looked at. The same ceiling the baby looked at. The same ceiling you look at when you can't sleep, which is every night now. Joe comes by, checking on known associates of the seditious neighbor. You were beaten for not reporting him, so now you're on a list. People who associate with people who associate with criminals. The list is long. Half the district is on it. Joe enjoys maintaining the list. Adding names, checking boxes, following up. He asks about your son, notes the illness, asks if it's contagious. You say no, but he steps back anyway. Says contagious disease without reporting is a crime. You say it's not contagious. He says he'll be the judge of that. Writes something in his book. Always writing in that book. Your son dies that night, quietly. You only know because the coughing stops. The silence wakes you up. Same way the missing rooster crow wakes you up. The absence of familiar sounds. You check. He's cold. Been cold for hours probably. You let your wife sleep. She'll find out in the morning. Let her have these last few hours of not knowing. Morning comes. She knows before you tell her. Mothers always know. She prepares his body, washes him, dresses him in his least patched shirt, combs his hair. He looks better dead than he has in months. Peaceful, no more pain, no more struggling with one foot, no more coughing up blood. Maybe death is the only mercy here. You bury him next to the baby, same corner of the field, another 3-foot hole. Your ribs have healed wrong, but at least they've healed. The digging only hurts instead of agonizing. Progress. Your wife watches from the doorway. Still not crying, just watching. Like she's memorizing something. The shape of the grave. The color of the dirt. The way you move when you shovel. The grain runs out. You've been stretching it. Water soup. Thin porridge. Boiled grass when you can find it. But now there's nothing. The temple wants their loan payment. Fat Chun wants his interest. The tax collector wants his grain. Joe wants to know why you haven't reported any suspicious activity lately. Surely you must have seen something suspicious. Everyone sees suspicious things if they look hard enough. You think about crime, real crime, not boundary stones or loud crying or wrong-colored clothes. Actual crime, robbery, assault, something that would at least make the punishment worth it. But you're too broken. Back ruined, ribs wrong, spirit cracked. Even crime requires energy, and you don't have any left. Your wife leaves. Doesn't say anything. Just packs a bag one morning and walks away. You watch her go. Don't try to stop her. She's going back to her father's house. You know, because that's the only place she could go. Her father will take her back. Say he told her not to marry you. Say he knew you were bad luck. He's right. You're alone now. House empty except for ghosts. Your daughter's ghost playing with wooden dolls. Your son's ghosts, both of them, one hopping on one foot, the other coughing. The baby's ghost crying for milk. Even the rooster's ghost crowing at nothing. Continuing maintaining style patterns. The local scholar dies. Natural causes, they say, but everyone knows he killed himself. Drank poison. Couldn't handle the shame of his students failing. Your son was one of his failures. The one-winged bird that never flew. The scholar's funeral is large. People actually cry. Real tears for someone who mattered. You stand at the back. Watch them bury him with honors. Books, scrolls, things your son would have loved. Fat Chun comes for his money. Brings 2 men this time. Large men. They don't threaten. Don't need to. Fat Chun explains your options. Work for him directly. That's slavery, basically. Or lose the farm. Your choice. Some choice. You sign the contract. Become his agricultural worker. Same land, same work, but now the harvest belongs to him. You get a percentage. Small percentage. Enough to not die. Usually, the contract is for 5 years. Might as well be forever. 5 years at your age with your body is a death sentence, but slower than starving. Everything here is about choosing the slower death. Joe gets promoted, moving to the capital. Before he goes, he gives you advice. Stop existing so much. Stop being visible. Stop having problems that require documentation. Become nothing. Nothing doesn't get beaten. Nothing doesn't get fined. Nothing doesn't get noticed. Good advice. Impossible to follow. The new assistant is older, lazier, takes bribes. This should be good news. But you don't have bribe money, so it's just different, not better. He ignores actual crimes if the criminals pay. Invents crimes for people who can't pay. You can't pay. He invents a crime for you. Says you've been stealing water from the communal irrigation system. You haven't. Everyone knows you haven't. But he has witnesses. Paid witnesses. 3 of them. Their testimony costs less than your testimony would cost to refute. Economics of justice. 30 blows with the light stick. You've lost count of total beatings now. This one blurs into all the others. Same bench. Same stick. Same sound. Different assistant, but same counting. 10, 20, 30. Done. Stand up. Walk out. Blood on the floor. Someone else's turn. You heal faster this time. Not because you're stronger. Because there's less of you to heal. Less muscle. Less fat. Less spirit. Less everything. The scars layer on top of old scars. Your back looks like tree bark now. Rough. Ridged. Inhuman. Spring arrives. Time to plant. Fat Chun provides the seeds, but you do the work. Your body moves automatically. 40 years of farming encoded in your muscles. Plant. Water. Weed. Harvest. Repeat. You don't think anymore. Thinking leads to dangerous places. Just work. Just exist. Just breathe. Even that's getting harder. A new family moves into your neighbor's house. The seditious one who is strangled. They don't know the history. Young couple, baby, full of hope. You want to warn them. Tell them about the ground being cursed. The walls having ears. The assistant who watches everything. But you don't. Let them learn like everyone learns. Through pain. Your daughter would be 14 now. Marriageable in some provinces. Still serving her uncle. You wonder if she remembers you. Probably tries not to. Remembering hurts. Forgetting is survival. You're forgetting things too. Your father's face. Your mother's voice. The taste of meat. The feeling of not being in pain. All fading. The young couple next door has trouble. Of course they do. The husband argues with the market inspector about weights. Gets reported. Gets beaten. 20 blows. Comes home bloody. His wife cries. The baby cries. You don't say anything. What would you say? Welcome to the neighborhood? It gets worse. You'll adapt or die. Better to say nothing. Fat Chun inspects the fields. Says you're not working hard enough. Takes a larger percentage of the harvest. You negotiate. Not really negotiate. Beg. He agrees to keep the percentage the same if you do additional work. Maintenance on his other properties. You agree. What else can you do? The other properties are worse than yours. Land so dead, even weeds won't grow. But you work them anyway, sunrise to past sunset. Your body breaks down more. Joints swelling. Hands curling into claws. Back bent permanent. You look like what you are. Animated suffering. Let's talk about the magistrate's court, the theater of it. Because it is theater, everyone knows their roles. The accused kowtows and confesses. The magistrate looks stern and wise. The assistant records everything. The crowd watches and learns. Justice performed for public consumption. The confession is important. Even if you're innocent, you confess. Fighting the charges makes it worse. Shows arrogance. Disturbs the harmony. Better to confess to something you didn't do and take the standard punishment than maintain innocence and get worse. They have ways of getting confessions. Legal torture. Regulated. Specific implements for specific purposes. Ankle screws for theft. Finger presses for forgery. The head crusher for serious denials. All legal. All documented. The scribe records how many turns of the screw. How much pressure applied. Bureaucracy of agony. Most people confess before torture. The tools are displayed. Cleaned, oiled. Ready. The torturer stands there, patient. He's paid by the day, not by the confession, so he doesn't care how long it takes. That patience is more terrifying than eagerness would be. But you're not in court. You're in Fat Chun's field trying to make dead earth grow food. It won't. You know it won't. He knows it won't. But the contract says you have to try, so you try. Throwing seeds on stone. Watering dust. Pretending it matters. The young couple next door has another baby. Another mouth they can't feed. You hear them arguing at night. Money. Food. Whether to sell the first child. Standard arguments. The soundtrack of poverty. You've had all these arguments. Lost all of them. The husband gets arrested again. Different crime. Wearing silk. Only certain classes can wear silk. He says it was cotton. The inspector says silk. Witnesses say silk. Paid witnesses, but their testimony counts. 50 blows with the heavy stick. He doesn't walk right afterward. Never will. His wife comes to you. Asks advice. How to survive. What to do. You tell her to leave. Pack up. Go somewhere else. Anywhere else. She says everywhere is like this. You say yes, but maybe somewhere else you don't have a history. Fresh start. Clean slate. She says they don't have money to travel. You say then endure. There's no third option. She doesn't leave. Nobody leaves. Leaving requires energy and hope and money. Staying just requires inertia. Summer, drought. The irrigation system breaks. Needs repairs. The village has to provide labor. Corvée labor. Mandatory. Unpaid. You're selected despite being broken. They need bodies. Don't care what condition the bodies are in. The work is digging. New channels. Moving earth from here to there. Simple. Backbreaking. Your back's already broken. So what's the difference? You dig. Sunrise to sunset. No pay. Bowl of rice at midday. Water when the supervisor remembers. 7 days of this. A man dies on day 3. Heat stroke. Falls face first into the channel he was digging. They drag him out. Leave him on the bank. Keep working around him. Can't stop. Scheduled to keep. His body bloats in the sun. Swells. Pops. The smell is indescribable. You work 5 feet from a corpse for 2 days before his family comes to collect him. Day 7. Last day. Almost done. The supervisor says actually 3 more days. Extended project. No warning. No choice. Just 3 more days. A man protests. Says he has to get back to his farm. Crops will die. The supervisor has him beaten. Right there. No trial, no magistrate. Just immediate punishment for questioning authority. The man crawls home that night. Probably won't make the 3 extra days. You make it. 10 days total. Go home. Fat Chun is angry. You weren't working his fields. Doesn't care that it was mandatory government labor. You missed work. Penalty. Higher percentage of harvest goes to him. You're now working to give him 90% of everything you grow. 10% for you. 10% of nothing is nothing. Fall comes, harvest time. Except there's nothing to harvest. The drought killed everything. Even the weeds died. Fat Chun still wants his percentage. 90% of nothing is nothing, but he wants payment anyway. Interest on the loan, rent on the land, fees for use of tools, all calculated, all documented, all legal. You can't pay, obviously. He knew you couldn't when he made the deal. That was the point. Now he owns you completely. Not just your labor. You. Bill of sale, legal transfer of personhood. You're not technically a slave, because slavery is illegal. You're a bonded servant with indefinite term of service. Different name, same thing. He moves you to his compound, servant quarters. Straw mat on dirt floor. 1 meal a day. Work sunrise to past sunset. No days off. No sick days. No hope of earning freedom, because the debt grows faster than you can work it off. Designed that way. The other servants don't talk to you. Talking wastes energy. Everyone hoards energy here, like gold. Moves slow. Breathes shallow. Exists minima. You learn their language of silence. Nod means yes. Look down means no. Closed eyes means leave me alone. I'm dying. You think about your daughter. Wonder if her servitude is like this. Probably. Maybe worse. Young girls in service face things you don't. You hope she's strong. Hope she's smart. Hope she's forgotten you, so the memory doesn't hurt. Hope is stupid, but it's free, so you do it anyway. Winter, cold. The servant quarters have no heat. 3 men freeze to death. You wake up next to corpses. Stiff, blue, peaceful. You envy them. They're done. No more work. No more pain. No more watching the sun rise on another day, exactly like yesterday. Fat Chun dies. Heart attack. Falls face first into his rice bowl at dinner. His son inherits everything, including you. The son is worse. Younger. Crueler. Thinks suffering builds character. You're suffering. His character. He increases work hours, decreases food, says efficiency is important. A new servant arrives. Young man. Still has hope in his eyes. Talks about escape, about resistance, about justice. You don't tell him he's wrong. He'll learn. Everyone learns. Through pain. Always through pain. He plans his escape for weeks. Tells you about it. You nod. Say nothing. He runs on new moon night. Darkest night. They catch him before dawn. Bring him back. Cut his tendons in front of everyone. Now he shuffles when he walks. Drags his feet. Can't run. Ever. The hope in his eyes dies. Good. Hope hurts. You develop a cough. Deep. Wet. Familiar. Same cough your son had. You know what it means. Months maybe. Maybe less. Fat Chun's son doesn't care. 6 servants work until they can't. Then they're disposed of. Burned with the weekly trash. Efficient. Spring comes. Your last spring, probably. You can feel it. Body shutting down. Systems failing. But you still work. Still dig. Still plant. Still pretend it matters. The rhythm of farming is all you have left. All you are. When you die, the earth won't notice. Seeds don't care who plants them. A letter arrives. Your daughter died. Her uncle writes to Fat Chun's son because he owns you and therefore has interest in your family assets. She died in childbirth. 15 years old. Baby died too. Common. Happens all the time. The uncle wants to know if you'll pay for burial. You can't. She gets burned with the unclaimed bodies. No marker. No ceremony. No acknowledgement she existed, except this letter that you're not technically supposed to read, but did anyway. You don't cry. Can't. Tear ducts don't work anymore. Dehydration, maybe. Or just empty. Completely empty. Nothing left to squeeze out. The cough gets worse. Blood now. Lots of blood. Bright red. Frothy. Lung blood. Different from stomach blood, which is dark. You've seen both. Coughed both. This is worse. This is ending. Fat Chun's son says you're worthless sick. Eating food without working full capacity. True. He calculates how much you cost versus how much you produce. The math says you should die. He's right. The math is always right here. Life and death reduced to accounting. But he doesn't kill you. That would be murder. Illegal. Instead, he stops feeding you. Not illegal. Your property. He can choose not to maintain his property. You have 3 days of energy stored. Maybe 4. Then you'll stop moving. Then you'll stop breathing. Then they'll burn you. Efficient. You lie on your mat. Waiting. The young man with cut tendons crawls over, shares his rice. Half bowl. Enough for another day. You try to refuse. He insists. Says you helped him once. You don't remember helping anyone. Maybe you did. Maybe kindness happened accidentally. He crawls away. Tomorrow, he'll share again if he has anything. Day after, you'll be too weak to eat anyway. Night. Coughing. Choking on blood. Drowning in your own lungs. This is how your son felt. This is how everyone feels at the end. Alone. Afraid. Angry at nothing. At everything. At the rooster that stopped crowing. At the boundary stone that started it all. 3 inches of dead earth. That's what your life was worth. Morning. Still alive. Disappointed. The sun rises anyway. Work bell rings. You can't stand. Try. Fall. Try again. Fall. The overseer comes. Looks at you. Writes something in his ledger. Walks away. You're scheduled for disposal. Tonight, probably. With the trash. With the other broken things. You think about your wife. Wonder if she knows you're dying. Probably not. Why would she? You're already dead to her. Been dead since the children died, since everything died. Maybe she remarried. Someone better, someone whose back isn't broken, someone who can protect children, keep them alive. You hope so. Hope is still free. The day passes. Breathing becomes work. Hard work. Each breath calculated. Worth it? Not worth it? The math says stop. The body keeps going. Stupid body. Doesn't know when to quit. Evening. They come for you. Two men. They'll carry you to the burning ground. Toss you on the pile. Still breathing, probably. Doesn't matter. Fire doesn't care if you're dead or alive. Just burns. Efficient. But the young man with cut tendons says no. Says you're his father. Lie. Obviously a lie. But he says it. Says he'll care for you. Take responsibility. The overseer doesn't care. Less work for him. Marks his ledger. Walks away. The young man drags you to his corner. Darker. Quieter. Says you saved him. You didn't. Says you showed him kindness. You don't remember. Says everybody needs to matter to somebody. Even here. Even now. Even when the math says otherwise. You want to thank him. Can't speak. Blood in your throat. He understands anyway. Gives you water, small sips. Tells you about his village. His family. His plans that failed. His acceptance of failure. Talks until you stop listening. Until the breathing stops. Until the math finally wins. They burn you tomorrow. With the trash. With the other broken things. Smoke rises, disappears, like you never existed. Except the young man remembers. Says your name once. Wrong name, but close enough. Someone remembered. That's something. That's enough. The rooster crows. Different rooster. Different farm. Same sound. Always the same sound. Forever and ever. World without end. Amen. No. Wait. You're still breathing. Still here. The burning was a dream. Or prophecy. Or just your brain preparing. Practicing. The young man is still talking. About rain. About hope. About tomorrow. Stupid talk. You're dying, and he's talking about tomorrow. But tomorrow comes. Always does. Until it doesn't. And you're still here. Still breathing. Still doing the math. Still getting it wrong. The body doesn't follow math. Follows something else. Stubbornness, maybe. Spite. The same thing that made you move that boundary stone. 3 inches. That started everything. That ended everything. The young man shares his rice again. Quarter bowl today. Less than yesterday. He's getting weaker too. Everyone is. That's the direction. Always down. Always less. Always worse. But slower some days. Today is slower. Today you might make it to tonight. Tonight you might make it to tomorrow. And then what? More of the same, more math. More failing the math. You close your eyes. Not dead, just resting. Saving energy for the next breath. And the next. And the next. Until there isn't one. But not yet. Not quite yet. The rooster hasn't crowed. When the rooster crows, then you'll stop. That's the deal, the contract. Wait for the rooster. It doesn't crow. Hours pass. No crow. Maybe it's dead. Maybe someone ate it. Maybe it's waiting to. For you to go first. Stubborn rooster. Stubborn you. Both waiting. Both refusing. Both doing math that doesn't add up. The sun sets. Another day survived. The young man brings water. Says tomorrow will be better. Lies. Tomorrow is never better. Just different. Different pain. Different hunger. Different math. But he says it anyway. Says it like he believes it. Maybe he does. The tendons are cut, but the hope grew back. Different. Twisted. But there. You want to tell him the truth. That hope is poison. That caring kills you slower than not caring. That the math always wins. But you can't speak, and he wouldn't listen anyway. Nobody listens to the dying. The dying don't know anything except how to die, and everyone learns that on their own. Night again. Coughing again. Blood again. But less. Maybe. Or maybe you're just used to it. Like everything else. The beatings. The hunger. The loss. All normal now. All expected. The suffering isn't special. It's Wednesday. You dream about your daughter. Not dead. Not 15. 8 years old. Leaving with her uncle. But in the dream, she turns back. Waves. Smiles. Says she'll see you again. Lies. Dream lies. The cruelest kind. You wake up reaching for her. Grab air. Cough blood. Remember she's ash? Like you'll be. Soon. Morning. The rooster crows. You're alive. Disappointing, but not surprising. Being alive is mostly disappointing now. The young man with cut tendons is already gone. Crawled to work. Left you a small portion of rice. Cold, congealed. You eat it anyway. Texture doesn't matter when you're this hungry. Your breathing is shallow, but steady. The cough quieter. Maybe you're healing. Maybe you're just running out of things to cough up. Your lungs feel like wet paper. Torn. Useless. But still working. Somehow. Let's talk about what happens to bodies here. Not the official executions. The quiet deaths. The servants who just stop. The farmers who give up. The children who fade. There's a pit behind every compound. Not official. Not documented. Just a pit. Bodies go in. Lime goes on top. More bodies. More lime. When it's full, they dig another pit. The grass grows greener over the old pits. Only thing that grows well here. You should be in the pit. The math said so. But math doesn't account for the young man who keeps sharing rice. Doesn't account for stubbornness. Doesn't account for the fact that dying takes energy, and you don't have any. So you exist in between. Not living. Not dying, just lasting. Fat Chun's son comes through the servants' quarters. Inspection, looking for theft. Finding reasons to punish. Sees you, stops. You're supposed to be dead. The ledger says you're dead. You're inconvenient alive. Messes up his accounting. He kicks you. Not hard. Just checking if you're real. You grunt. He writes something down. Walks away. You're back in the ledger. Alive again. Officially. That means you need to work. Tomorrow. The overseer tells you. Field work. You can't stand, but you'll do field work tomorrow. That's how it works. The ledger says you work, so you work. Even if working kills you. Especially if working kills you. Then the ledger will be correct again. The young man comes back that evening. Upset. Says it's not fair. You almost laugh. Almost fair. What a word. Like saying water should flow upward. Like saying beaten backs should heal straight. Fair doesn't exist here. Never has. He's young. Still believes in should. You believed in should once. Should doesn't feed anyone. He helps you stand. Practice for tomorrow. Your legs don't work right. Muscles atrophied. Joints locked. But you stand. Lean on him. Take a step. Another. 5 steps total before collapse. He says that's good. Says tomorrow you'll do 10. Lies, but nice lies. You let him believe them. Night. You dream about the magistrate's court. But you're the magistrate. Sentencing yourself. 50 blows for moving the boundary stone. 100 for losing your children. Death for continuing to breathe when the math says stop. You wake up before the sentence is carried out. Always wake up before. Coward even in dreams. Tomorrow comes, always does. The overseer sends you to the nearest field. The deadest field. Nothing grows there. Hasn't for years. But you're supposed to clear weeds. There are no weeds. Clear them anyway. You crawl to the field. Takes an hour. Should take 5 minutes walking. You pull at dead grass, handful by handful. Pile it up. Neat pile. Organized death. Other servants work real fields. They don't look at you. Looking takes energy. Acknowledging takes energy. Everything takes energy. Your negative energy. A drain. They can't afford to care that you're dying. They're dying too, just slower. Noon, rice break. You don't get rice. Not working efficiently enough. The overseer explains this. Patient, like explaining to a child. Work equals rice. No work equals no rice. Simple math. You nod. Keep pulling dead grass. He watches for a while. Writes something. Leaves. The sun is brutal. No shade in the dead field. Your skin burns. Blisters. Splits. More pain on top of pain. Layers of it. Like the scars on your back. Building up. Creating topography of suffering. Mountains and valleys of hurt. Evening. Crawl back. The young man shares his rice again. Less than yesterday. He's getting in trouble for feeding you. Losing his own rations. You try to refuse. He insists. Says humans take care of humans. That's what makes us human. You want to tell him that humans beat humans. Humans sell humans. Humans burn humans in pits with lime. That's also what makes us human. But you don't. Let him have his philosophy. It's all he has. Days blur. Same field, same dead grass. Same crawling. Same shared rice getting smaller. The young man getting thinner. You're killing him slowly by surviving. He doesn't see it that way. Sees it as purpose. Meaning. Everyone needs meaning. Even here, especially here, the overseer comes. Says you're reassigned, not field work. Can't have you crawling around where people can see. Bad for morale. New job. Sorting seeds. Separating good from bad. Can do it sitting? Inside. Out of sight. You nod. Doesn't matter what you do. All work leads to the same pit. The seed sorting room is small. Dark. Dusty. The seeds are old. Most are bad. Rotted. But dead. You sort them anyway. Good pile. Bad pile. The good pile is tiny. The bad pile is everything else. Metaphor too obvious to mention. Your fingers still work. Mostly. Shake sometimes, drop seeds. Have to pick them up, one by one. Each seed matters. That's what they tell you. Every seed counts. Even the dead ones. Especially the dead ones. They burn them. Use the ash for something. Fertilizer maybe. Making death useful. A woman works beside you. Old. Older than you, though, you feel ancient. She doesn't talk. Just sorts. Rhythmic. Meditative. Been doing this for years, probably. Decades, maybe. Waiting to die while sorting dead seeds. There are worse ways. You lived most of them. The sorting is actually peaceful. Repetitive. Mindless. Your hands know what to do. Good seed feels different from bad. Heavier. Smoother. Alive. The bad seeds are light. Hollow. Crumble if you squeeze. Like everything here, pressure reveals emptiness. You start coughing again. Blood on the seeds. The woman looks. Says nothing. Slides you a cloth. Keep working. Blood's not the worst thing on these seeds. Not even close. You've seen rat droppings. Mold. Things that might have been insects once. All sorted. Good pile. Bad pile. Blood pile now too. The young man still brings rice. Less enthusiastic now. Reality setting in. You're not getting better. Not really. Just dying slower. He's spending his energy on something that won't last. Starting to understand that, but still comes. Habit now. Habits are hard to break, even bad ones. Especially bad ones. Let's talk about the legal system one more time. The real system, not the written laws, the actual function. It's not about justice. Never was. It's about order, control. Keep the poor poor. Keep the beaten beaten. Keep the system running. The punishments aren't to reform you. They're to break you. Make you grateful for any day you're not actively being hurt. Make you police yourself. Police each other. Save them the trouble. And it works. Look at you. Moved 3 inches of dirt. Now you're sorting dead seeds until you die. Chain of cause and effect. Perfectly logical. Perfectly legal. Perfectly horrible. The system working as designed. A merchant comes for the good seeds. Counts them. Says it's not enough. Takes them anyway. Pays less than promised. The overseer agrees. What choice does he have? Merchant has money. Money has power. Power makes laws. Laws make punishments. Punishments make you. Broken things sorting dead things for living things that don't see you as alive. Your cough gets worse again. Thought it was better, but no, just different. Deeper now. Rattling. Like stones in a gourd. The woman beside you moves farther away. Can't blame her. Disease spreads. Death spreads. Everything spreads except good fortune. That stays concentrated. Same families. Same names. Same faces getting fat while you sort their dead seeds. The young man doesn't come tonight, or the next night, or the next. You think he's dead. Then you see him. In the field. Working. Not looking at you. Can't anymore. Used up his kindness. Ran out. Finite resource. You understand. Don't blame him. Kindness is expensive. He's bankrupt now. Spent it all on you. For nothing. You're still dying. Waste of investment. So no more rice. Just water. Sometimes. When you remember to drink. When drinking seems worth the effort. Often it doesn't. Water just delays. Prolongs. Extends the sentence. Maybe stopping water is the answer. Dry up. Blow away. Become dust. Return to dust. Biblical, but applies here too. But you keep drinking. Stupid body. Stupid survival instinct. Even when the mind says stop, the throat swallows. The lungs breathe. The heart beats. All automatic. All despite you. Your body hasn't gotten the message that it's over. Still trying. Still fighting. Still failing, but fighting anyway. New servants arrive. Fresh debt slaves. Look at you with horror. You're their future. The shape of what's coming. Some cry. Some rage. Some go quiet immediately. The smart ones. Already adapting. Already dying inside to survive outside. You were all of them once. Now you're none of them. Now you're just example. Warning. Preview of coming attractions. One asks what you did to end up like this. You try to answer. Can't remember. Something about a boundary? A stone? 3 inches? Sounds made up. Sounds too small to destroy a life. But that's the system. Small crimes. Big punishments. Accumulating consequences. Compound interest on suffering. The woman beside you dies. Quietly. Just stops sorting. Slumps forward. Face in bad seeds. You check. Dead. Definitely dead. No breath. No pulse. Peaceful expression. Almost smiling. Maybe relieved. Finally done. No more sorting. No more waiting. You tell the overseer. No more anything. He's annoyed. Death during work hours requires paperwork. Forms to fill. Explanations to write. He drags her out. Leaves her by the door. Someone will collect her later. Maybe. Or maybe she'll stay there. Become furniture. Part of the room. You've seen it happen. Bodies forgotten, mummifying in place. Still there months later. Background, scenery, normal. New woman replaces her. Younger, still has fingers that work properly. Sorts faster. Makes you look worse by comparison. The overseer notices. Writes it down. You're failing at sorting dead seeds. Can't even do that, right? Tomorrow you'll be reassigned again. Or disposed of. Depends on the paperwork. Always depends on paperwork. But tomorrow you're still sorting. And the next day. And the next. Apparently, disposal requires forms you haven't filled out yet. Can't die without proper documentation. Against regulations. So you sort. Slower each day. Fewer good seeds. More blood on the bad ones. The new woman pretends not to notice. Focused on her own survival. Smart. Your body is failing systematically now. Eyes cloudy. Can barely see the seeds. Going by feel. Ears ringing constantly. High-pitched. Like insects. Maybe are insects. Living in your ears. Wouldn't surprise you. Everything else is rotting. Why not ears too? Legs completely gone. Can't even crawl now. Have to be carried to the sorting room. The overseer complains. Says you're taking up labor resources. 2 men to carry 1 dying sorter. Bad economics. But the paperwork says you sort, so you sort. Until the paperwork says stop. Then you stop. Simple. Let's be honest about what's happening. You're decomposing while alive. Pieces shutting down. Organs failing, systems crashing. But slowly. So slowly? The body is remarkably bad at dying quickly. Clings to life even when life is worthless. Even when death would be mercy. Stupid body. Stupid mercy. Stupid everything. You think about your family. All dead now. Except maybe your wife. Maybe she survived. Found something better. Someone better. Hope so. 1 survivor from this wreckage. 1 person who escaped the gravitational pull of your disaster. That would be something. Small victory. Pyrrhic but still victory. The young man walks past the sorting room. Looks in. Sees you. Looks away. Keeps walking. You don't blame him. You're contagious. Not disease. Failure. It spreads, infects everyone nearby. He was smart to cut ties. Save himself. You would have done the same. Should have done the same. With everyone. From the beginning. Alone is safer. Alone contains the damage. New overseer. The old one promoted. Or dead. Doesn't matter. New one is efficient. Counts every seed. Times every movement. Calculates productivity down to individual grains. Your negative productivity. Costing more than you produce. The math is clear. The ledger doesn't lie. You should be terminated. Economically speaking. But the paperwork. Always the paperwork. Your termination needs approval. Forms in triplicate. Stamps from 3 departments. Signature from Fat Chon's son who's traveling. Could take weeks. Months maybe. You might die naturally before the bureaucracy can kill you officially. Race between decay and documentation. You stop coughing, not because you're better, because there's nothing left to cough. Lungs are done. Just bags of scar tissue now. Every breath is work. Conscious effort. In, out, in, out. Forget once and it stops. Almost forget often. Would be easy. Just don't breathe. See what happens. But the body remembers. Takes over. Breathes despite you. The seeds run out. No more to sort. Season over. Or merchant found or better supply source. Depleted. Doesn't matter. No seeds means no sorting means no purpose. Means paperwork for reassignment or disposal. The overseer looks at you. Calculating. Where to put the dying thing that won't die. What work can a corpse do? He assigns you to watching. That's your job now. Watching. Sit in the corner of the servants' quarters. Watch for theft. Report suspicious behavior. You can't talk, but you can point. Probably. Maybe. If necessary. You're a human scarecrow. Presence more than person. Reminder that the overseer sees everything, even through dying eyes. So you sit, propped against the wall, watching people who don't steal, because there's nothing to steal. Everyone's too tired for suspicious behavior, too broken for rebellion. But you watch anyway. Job's a job. Even pretend jobs. Even impossible jobs. Even dying jobs. Days pass. Or nights. Hard to tell. Time doesn't work right anymore. Everything is now. Or never. Or already happened. Past and present blurred. You see your children sometimes. Playing in the corner. Your wife cooking dinner. Your father teaching you to plant. All here. All now. All impossible, but here anyway. The young man with cut tendons dies. Infection finally. Started at the ankles where they cut. Spread up. Turned his legs black. Then his belly. Then his chest. Took weeks. He screamed at the end. Begged. Promised anything for the pain to stop. It stopped. Eventually. Always does. They burn him with the weekly trash. You watch from your corner. Smoke rises. Disappears. Like he never existed. Except you remember. His kindness. His rice. His belief that humans help humans. Wrong but beautiful. Stupid but necessary. The kind of wrong that makes being right worthless. You should be sad. Can't feel it. Should be angry. Can't feel that either. Just empty. Hollow. Like the bad seeds. Light. Crumbling. Waiting for pressure to reveal the nothing inside. New servants arrive. Younger each time. Children, really. Sold by parents. Like your daughter. But these have no uncle to pretend it's apprenticeship. Just straight slavery with different names. They cry at night. All of them. Quiet crying. Muffled in straw mats. Don't want to be beaten for disturbing peace. You watch them. Can't comfort. Can't speak. Can't do anything but be warning. Look, children. This is where it leads. This corner. This watching. This nothing. One child reminds you of your daughter. Same age when she left. Same determination not to cry in daylight. Same careful movements. Calculating survival. You want to tell her to run. Now, before the system gets its hooks in. Before the debts accumulate. Before the beatings layer into scarring. But you can't speak, and she wouldn't listen, and there's nowhere to run anyway. She sees you watching. Comes over. Offers water. You manage to drink. Spills mostly. Chin doesn't work right. She wipes your face. Gentle. Like you're human. Like you matter. You don't, but she doesn't know that yet. Still has kindness. Give it a month. Maybe 2. The kindness will die. Has to. Survival requires it. But for now, she brings water. Every day. Sits with you sometimes. Talks. You don't understand the words. Different dialect. Different province. Doesn't matter. The sound is enough. Human voice. Not giving orders. Not counting productivity. Just talking. About home. About family. About dreams she'll never achieve. Beautiful lies. You listen. Nod sometimes. She thinks you understand? You do. Just not the words. The overseer notices. Writes it down. Fraternization. Unproductive behavior. The girl gets warned. Then beaten. 5 lashes. Light ones. Warning lashes. She still brings water, but doesn't stay. Doesn't talk. Just water and gone. Smart girl. Learning fast. Adapting. Surviving. Your breathing gets worse. Longer gaps between breaths. Sometimes forget for 30 seconds. Minute, maybe. Body panics. gasps, restarts. But each restart is harder. Like an engine running out of fuel, sputtering, catching, sputtering again. Let's talk about the rooster one more time. That first rooster. Your neighbor's, it was actually yours. The one that crowed every morning at the same time. Reliable, predictable, constant. Everything else changed, but that rooster stayed the same. Until you ate it. Had to. Nothing else left. Tasted like guilt. Like necessity. Like survival. Stringy, tough. Barely any meat. But you ate it. Fed your family one more day. One more morning without the crow. Silence where sound should be. That's when you knew things were ending. When the rooster stopped crowing. Everything since has been epilogue. You close your eyes, not sleeping, not dying, just resting, saving energy for the next breath. If it comes, when it comes, will it come? Does it matter? The overseer writes something, always writing, documenting the decline, making it official, real, legal, night probably, dark anyway, or your eyes failing, same result. The girl brings water. You can't swallow. It runs out. She apologizes. Like it's her fault. Like any of this is anyone's fault. It's just what happened. Accumulation of consequences. Death by 1,000 costs. You think about the boundary stone. Still there, probably. 3 inches one way or the other. Your neighbor's descendants farming the same dead soil. Their children will move it. Get caught. Get beaten. Cycle continuing. Nothing learned. Nothing changed. Just variations on the same theme. Suffering in different keys. Your heart is interesting now. Irregular. Jazz rhythm. Improvising. Sometimes fast. Sometimes stopped. Sometimes somewhere between. You can feel it trying. Pumping sludge through clogged pipes. Efficient machine becoming inefficient. Breaking down. Finally, the overseer stands over you. Checking. Still alive? Still counting as expense? You open your eyes? He writes something. Walks away. You're still in the ledger. Still officially existing. The paperwork hasn't caught up to the reality. Never does. Always behind. Always processing yesterday's catastrophes, while today's accumulate. Tomorrow you'll die. Probably. Maybe. The math says yes. The body says maybe. The paperwork says pending. 3 different answers. All wrong. All right. All irrelevant. Death doesn't follow schedules. Comes when it comes. Like the rooster crow. Unexpected even when expected. But not yet. Not quite. Few more breaths. Few more heartbeats. Few more moments of watching nothing happen in the dark. That's your job now. Watching nothing. Reporting absence. Documenting void. Perfect job for almost corpse. Your employee of the month. The only employee. The last employee. The eternal employee until the paperwork says otherwise. The girl is gone. Sold maybe. Died maybe. Moved to different quarters maybe. Doesn't matter. The water stopped. The kindness stopped. Everything stops. That's the only reliable thing. The stopping. Just a question of when, of paperwork, of mathematics finally winning. You hear a rooster. Impossible. No roosters here? Eaten long ago. But you hear it. Clear, loud, insistent. 3 hours before dawn. Same as always. Same as never. Ghost rooster. Death rooster. Memory to rooster. Crow you home. But you're still here. Still breathing. Barely. Still watching. Badly. Still existing. Unfortunately, the rooster crows again. Closer. Louder. More insistent. Calling. Demanding. Requiring response. You can't respond. Can't crow back. Can't do anything but listen. Wait. Breathe. Maybe. If you remember. if it seems worth it. If the paperwork allows, the sun rises. Probably. Light increases anyway. New day. Same as yesterday. Same as tomorrow. Same as nothing. You're still in your corner, still watching, still dying, still refusing to die. Stubborn body, stubborn soul, stubborn everything except the parts that should be stubborn. Those gave up long ago. The overseer comes with papers. Finally, the documentation. Your termination approval. Signed, stamped. Official. You're disposed of. Legally. The ledger will be corrected. The math will balance. Everything in order. Except you're still breathing. Inconvenient. The paperwork says you're dead. The body disagrees. Who wins? The paperwork wins. Always wins. They carry you to the pit. Still breathing, but that's a technicality. The lime is ready, the pit is hungry. Other bodies already there. Waiting. Company for the journey. Or just meat returning to meat. Dust to dust. Accounting to accounting. They lower you in gentle. Not from kindness, from indifference. No different from lowering a sack of grain, or garbage, or anything else that goes in pits. You land soft, on something that used to be someone, now just cushion. Organic padding, recycling at its finest. The lime comes, white snow. Burning snow, chemical snow, covers everything. Fills lungs, stops breath. Finally, the math was right. Just took longer than calculated. Interest on suffering finally paid in full. Account closed, books balanced, system working as designed. Except you're still thinking, still aware. How long does thinking last after breathing stops? Seconds? Minutes? How long does the mind take to understand it's over? How long does consciousness cling to meat that's already surrendering? Questions without answers. Or answers without questions. Or just nothing pretending to be something for a few more moments. The rooster crows. Inside your head now. Inside the pit. Inside the lime. Inside the nothing. Consistent to the end. Reliable. The only reliable thing. 3 hours before dawn. That will never come. Perfect timing. Perfect silence. Perfect nothing. And then nothing. Real nothing. Not the nothing you've been living. The actual nothing. The quiet nothing. The rest nothing. The earned nothing. The deserved nothing. The finally nothing. The thank God nothing. The at last nothing. The nothing that doesn't hurt. Doesn't remember. Doesn't watch. Doesn't sort. Doesn't breathe. Doesn't care. Just doesn't. The rooster stops crowing. Good. So tonight, as you lie in your bed with your soft pillows and your climate control and your absence of pain, remember that somewhere in history, someone moved a boundary stone 3 inches. 3 inches of dead earth. And it destroyed everything. Destroyed them. Destroyed their family. Destroyed their future. 3 inches. But you're not there. You're here, now. Safe. Fed. Whole. Your children are alive. Your spouse beside you. Your body unbroken. Your name untarnished. Your debts manageable. Your crimes forgiven or never committed. Your roosters are alarms you can turn off. Your mornings are possibilities, not threats. Your breathing is automatic, not calculated. Your existence is assumed, not documented. Your death is distant, not pending. Your life is yours, not the state's. Your pain is temporary, not compounding. Your tomorrow is probable, not impossible. So sleep easy, sleep deep. Sleep without counting breaths. Sleep without measuring suffering. Sleep without calculating survival. Sleep without paperwork. Sleep without lime. Sleep without pits. Sleep without roosters that crow in the dark. Just sleep. Sleep because you can. Because sleeping is not a crime. Because waking up is not a punishment. Because your back is not broken. Because your children are not sold. Because your debts are not infinite. Because your body is not property. Because your death is not scheduled. Because your life, however hard, however challenging, however imperfect, is not that. Will never be that. Can never be that. And if you wake at 3 in the morning and you hear something that sounds like a rooster, remember, it's just a sound. Just noise. Just nothing. It doesn't own you. Doesn't control you. Doesn't measure your remaining breaths. It's just a rooster, or a car, or a dream, or nothing at all. Close your eyes. Breathe without thinking. Sleep without fear. Wake without dread. Live without calculating the cost of every moment. Die without paperwork. Exist without permission. That's all. That's enough. That's everything. Sleep well.